Picture this. You're walking down a dark, foggy street. The air is freezing, and the shadows are just a bit too long. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little bit different, and honestly, a whole lot darker. We are going to completely deconstruct a nightmare. We're essentially performing an autopsy on an urban legend that has literally haunted the streets of Japan for decades. A legend that paralyzed entire communities and invaded the minds of kids and adults alike. We're talking, of course, about Kuchisake-onna, the Slit-Mouthed Woman. Now, we aren't just here to tell you a spooky ghost story. We're going to dissect the very anatomy of this monster together, figure out exactly where she came from, and uncover the very real, deeply human terrors that she actually represents. So, imagine you're walking home alone at night. The streets are completely empty, right? The mist is heavy. And suddenly, stepping right out from the dim, flickering glow of a streetlight is a tall, elegant woman. She's wearing a long trench coat and a white surgical mask covering the lower half of her face. Now, in Japan, wearing a medical mask to prevent the spread of a cold is entirely normal. You wouldn't even bat an eye at it. But then, she deliberately blocks your path. She locks eyes with you, and in this quiet, eerily calm voice, she asks you one single, chilling question. Am I pretty? Or in Japanese, watashi kirei? Instantly, your blood runs cold. Because if you know the lore of Kuchisake-onna, you know this isn't just a simple question. It's a trap, a lethal psychological trap.
And this trap is incredibly rigid and inescapable. Literally, every answer you give leads to a completely horrifying outcome. So, step one is the approach. She asks if she's beautiful. Now, if you panic and say no right off the bat, well, she immediately pulls out a pair of massive blood-stained scissors and ends you right on the spot. But let's say you try to play it cool. You try to be polite. You answer, yes, you are beautiful. That triggers step two, the reveal. She slowly reaches up, grabs the edge of her surgical mask and pulls it away, revealing this grotesque, terrifying wound. Her mouth has been violently sliced open all the way from ear to ear, exposing her teeth and raw flesh. And then she asks, even like this? Now you've entered step three, the ultimate paradox of choice. If you scream, or if you change your answer to no, she cuts you in half. But if you say yes again, she takes those scissors and slits your mouth from ear to ear so that you look exactly like her. It's a masterclass in psychological terror, you know? You are completely doomed either way.
Section 1. The 1979 National Panic. From ghost story to true crime panic. Because the thing is, this wasn't just some campfire tale you tell to scare your friends. It caused a massive, real-world panic. We can actually track exactly how this highly localized rumor snowballed into pure hysteria. It all started in late 1978. An elderly farmer in Gifu Prefecture claimed he saw a woman with a mouth slit to her ears just lurking in his garden. Then, by early 1979, local newspapers like the Gifu Nichi-Nichi Shinbun actually started reporting on these sightings. And the moment the media legitimized it, the rumor just exploded. By the spring of 1979, Japan was in a full-blown national panic. The legend started evolving too. People were whispering that she could run 100 meters in 3 seconds flat, or that she carried a sickle instead of scissors. The terror was so visceral and so real that local governments actually had to step in. Police ramped up their patrols, actively searching for a phantom. Schools flat out refused to let kids walk home alone. Teachers had to group students together and physically escort them to their front doors. Think about that. A ghost story literally shut down the streets of modern Japan. Section 2. Surviving the encounter. Bizarre tactics and loophole logic. If you do find yourself cornered by her, you might actually survive, but only if you know a few very weird, very specific loopholes. What's absolutely wild here is that her weaknesses are oddly human. If she corners you, you can literally just throw hard candy, specifically this traditional Japanese candy called bekoame, or even just toss some money at her feet. She will compulsively stop to pick it up, which gives you just enough time to sprint away. Or here's another one. You can chant the word pomade 3 times. Why? Well, in one of her origin stories, her mouth was ruined by a botched plastic surgery, and she absolutely despises the smell of the hair pomade that the doctor wore. It triggers this massive trauma response, and she just flees in a panic. But honestly, my personal favorite is the third tactic. When she asks, "Am I pretty?" you don't say yes and you don't say no. You say, "You look average," or "so-so." This completely short-circuits her brain. She has no idea how to process a neutral, non-committal answer, and she just freezes in confusion. You can also just casually say, "I'm sorry, I'm in a hurry." And because she is apparently still bound by strict Japanese societal manners, she'll actually apologize and let you pass. It's kind of amazing, right?
Section 3, Deconstructing the Legend, the Societal Autopsy. To really, truly understand a monster, we have to perform a sociological autopsy and see what she actually represents underneath it all.
Because monsters are never just monsters, right? They're mirrors. They reflect the deepest, darkest anxieties of the culture that invents them. This quote from researcher Rachel Dumas completely hits the nail on the head. She views the Slit-Mouthed Woman not just as a spooky ghost, but as a violent, terrifying rebellion against strict societal expectations. In traditional Japanese society, there's this massive, heavy pressure placed on women to be the perfect, nurturing, quiet domestic caregiver. Kuchisake-onna is the absolute antithesis of that. She's out prowling the streets at night, she's aggressively getting in the faces of strangers, and she's openly, brutally violent. She's a woman who has been horribly scarred by the expectations of beauty, and she's turning all of that internalized trauma outward into pure, chaotic vengeance. Folklorist Michael Dillon Foster points out that she embodies a whole checklist of modern Japanese anxieties. First off, you have the education mama, or kyoiku mama. This is the intense cultural pressure on mothers to make sure their kids succeed academically at all costs. It's no accident that Kuchisake-onna specifically targets kids walking home late at night from their after-school cram schools. She is the literal manifestation of that crushing academic pressure. Then you've got the anxiety around vanity and plastic surgery, right? This reflects a society that's becoming increasingly obsessed with artificial, unattainable beauty. And what about the surgical mask she wears? Foster argues that it perfectly symbolizes a fear of disease and environmental crisis, a polluted, dangerous world where you literally need a mask to breathe safely. Ultimately, her slashed face is a violent, bloody protest. She is physically showing us the incredibly ugly cost of vanity and societal pressure. And we actually see this archetype globally. It's fascinating. Look at the terrifying similarities she shares with Mexico's La Llorona, the weeping woman. Both of these figures were once beautiful women who suffered terrible betrayals or violence at the hands of men, and both of them are completely stripped of their traditional roles as caregivers. Instead of nurturing children, they are out there hunting them in the dark. They are the ultimate expression of what academics call the monstrous feminine. It's this concept that highlights how female monstrosity in folklore is almost always directly tied to a fear of female independence and repressed rage. They're victims who refuse to stay quiet, and they come back from the grave to inflict their pain on the rest of the world. So let's rewind and look at her actual origins, which trace back to either the Heian or Edo period. The oldest roots of the lore say she was a woman of exceptional beauty, married to a highly prestigious but insanely jealous samurai. She was vain and, depending on the story, perhaps unfaithful. When the samurai discovered her betrayal, he just lost it. He flew into a murderous rage, drew his katana, and struck her down, slicing her mouth wide open while screaming, "Who will think you are beautiful now?" She died in absolute agony and shame. But in Japanese folklore, when someone dies holding on to that level of intense negative emotion, the anger, the jealousy, the profound shame, they don't just peacefully pass on. They become an onryo, a vengeful spirit. The real tragedy here is that she is forever trapped in that final, horrifying moment of trauma. She's desperately seeking validation from strangers, but cursed to answer them with sheer violence. Section 4, an evolving global monster, adapting to the internet age. Because as society modernized, so did she. It really proves that our fears don't just die out, they simply get an internet connection. Most folklore kind of fades away when cities pave over the dark forests. But urban legends like Kuchisake-onna, they thrive on concrete and streetlights. By the 2000s, she had actually crossed over into South Korea, mutating and adapting to the anxieties of her new home. Over there, she became known as the woman in the red mask, because the color red hid the blood seeping from her wounds. And even more bizarrely, the new lore dictated that she could only move in perfectly straight lines. She literally became a monster defined by the rigid grid of modern city streets. If you turned a sharp corner or ran up some stairs, you were totally safe. In some Taiwanese and Okinawan versions, she even gained a boyfriend, this creepy bald guy who also wore a mask. It just goes to show how living folklore works. It's always shifting, it's updating, and it's mutating to make sure it stays relevant and absolutely terrifying to whoever is telling the story today. Which brings us to the end of our explainer and leaves us with one final, deeply chilling thought for your next walk home in the dark. We've deconstructed the legend, right? We've analyzed the sociological fears she represents, and we've tracked how she evolved across the globe. But let's be real. All the academic analysis in the world isn't going to help you if the fog rolls in, the streetlights start to flicker, and you hear footsteps behind you.
Because the true power of Kuchisake-onna isn't trapped in some history book. It's the visceral, gut-wrenching fear that she could literally be any stranger you pass in the dead of night. So I'm gonna leave you with this. If you're walking home tonight and a woman steps out of the shadows, her face obscured by a white medical mask, and she quietly asks you, "Am I pretty?" What exactly is your answer going to be? Think about it carefully. Your life might just depend on it. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Stay safe out there, and hey, maybe never forget to carry a little hard candy in your pocket. Yeah, just in case.